Let's go through it. What's your opinion on DLC? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Have you ever purchased season passes? Do you have a favorite DLC in particular?
It's a very big question you're asking.
I'm a very big boy.
I didn't know that was this kind of show. Anyway, no. So like my favorite DLC that I did get story wise was the Assassin's Creed 4. Like there was DLC to that, which was pretty fun. You get to play as a ex-slave who helped liberate some other slaves in the Caribbean. That was a fun one.
Is it bad that neither of us remember his name?
No, I don't think so.
No, but yeah, I know the DLC you're talking about. It was an amazing DLC.
I like that DLC. It was a really fun one. And then another good one that I've gotten a lot of play out of is the Battlefield 1, the season pass of that. That I enjoyed playing. That was good. Lots of good maps. It's a great way to divide you and me because you didn't get the season pass.
Okay, so a differing from the first one, and a single player DLC is an online DLC.
Yeah, an online DLC is a rough way to separate your audience. So in a way, it like sort of builds that exclusivity. So it's like, oh, we have to buy it if we want to keep playing with our friends. But I don't know, it's a bit of a D move from EA as a way to like separate the player base. You know, like it should be at least you host another player or something. If you've got the DLC, you host your friend who doesn't. Should be like that.
But also, some people see DLC as like something that was cut out beforehand.
In some cases, you can tell the difference though.
There are certain game genres where I will never touch DLC on unless I really particularly like that game.
What's a good example of one that the DLC should have been or felt like it was a part of the game, but then they cut it out?
Street Fighter V. Okay. When that first came out, the DLC was very much felt like it was a full game with a chunk cut out and the characters missing. And it wasn't very like a lot of the Street Fighter community rallied together and told them that this is not right. Capcom, you are doing wrong. Yeah. And now Capcom have stepped up their game. You know, they've recently released Resident Evil 2, which is a stellar hit. Oh, it's an amazing horror game.
We played it on the channel too, which was really good.
Exactly. If you wanted to check that out, K2L Service on the YouTube.
Yeah. Accidental plug. Whoops.
Accidental. Very accidental. But yeah, like Capcom's starting to build their trust back up. They've released the Mega Man X Legacy Collection. People love that. And, you know, they're building more rapport with their community again. But whereas for something that was like Battlefront 2, you know, you're coming off the back of Battlefront, the first one, which is like 2014, 2015?
15, I think.
2015. And like that itself was bare bones. Like it was a fun game.
Yeah.
Like you and I played it a lot of the time, but it was very bare bones. And it felt like there was I was playing a bit of a beta.
It felt very naked at times. And then when its DLCs come out, map packs, I don't know, it maybe like one or two of those map packs felt like they should have been with the game already.
See, I rarely even played them. The only one I played was the Death Star
because I didn't
DLC.
buy. So with me, it's like I didn't buy the game until it was like I bought it cheaply at EB Games for the disc, and the disc was only like $20, right? And then all the DLC season pass was only like, I think it was on special, it was $35. So I saved a lot of money buying it but then I shot myself in the foot because by the time it all dropped down to that price, no one else was really playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was when the Scarif maps come out, and then, which I enjoyed that. That was fun.
One really good developer that's actually was awesome with their DLC and made it actually feel like that you got the game from the start with your purchase, plus so much more, like an extra half game on top of it, is The Witcher 3.
Oh, geez.
Its DLC was amazing, and especially the Blood and Wine, sorry, that was the one, Blood and Wine expansion, gave you this awesome color palette that just increased the fidelity of the game, and it gave you so much extra side quests. Even when the game itself has never-ending side quests. You go see someone, you solve that side quest, but then that side quest turns into 3 side quests because you interact with 2 other characters halfway through it. And then it just goes on and on and on. And then that game, the exploration in that game, the bestiary in that game, and the lore behind it, it's just amazing. And coming off the back of the first 2, where they were revered as really awesome single-player, linear-driven games to this open-world game where you explore a large, festering Middle Ages and magical land, like if Game of Thrones had a baby that had AIDS.
Why AIDS? AIDS isn't good.
Well, it like coughs all the time.
Oh, you should. What? Anyway.
Another great example of DLC, which is actually very unconventional DLC. Like you wouldn't consider a DLC because of the way that it gets implemented, is Grand Theft Auto Online.
Oh, yeah.
Because its DLC is technically not DLC because it's not downloaded.
No, you download it.
No, like you update.
You don't choose to opt into it. It's the game. Like it's the GTA Online's constantly updating.
But that's the thing is like you update your program on your console or PC to be compatible with it, but all of it is online.
Yeah.
So it's all streamed from the servers. So that's why it's not technically downloaded because it's all online. You know what I mean?
It does take up space on my computer.
I know
that
the program takes space, yes, but I mean like the content itself is streamed. Like, you know, you don't have, you may have some of the car assets downloaded onto your console or PC, but that's purely just for a loading process. You don't physically have like the levels or the car tracks or anything like that downloaded on your thing. And so it's kind of an interesting way to look at DLC, especially when Grand Theft Auto Online like piggybacks off of Grand Theft Auto 5, which as a time of recording is a 6-year-old game, by the way.
There's been people still working on GTA Online since it come out. Still to this day, they're still making extra content for people free to play. You know, you don't have to pay for it.
Oh yeah,
which is the good side of it.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like you get your achievement hunter who do their Grand Theft Auto videos all the time. You know,
the heists and all that. And,
yeah, they're doing like Criminal Mastermind at the moment, and you know the amount of content they bring out for free. It's no wonder that they're getting the money revenue because people feel okay in buying the extra currency because they know Rockstar, they know what they're getting, and they like it when it comes to a single player game and it comes to DLC. So you said previously your overall opinion on DLC is that you don't mind it as long as it doesn't feel like it's half a game taken out already. And that's pretty much the general consensus of everything. As long as the game at base level is good.
I really enjoy the kind of DLC that feels like it's enhancing and adding on top of the game and probably making the overall game a better play. Like City Skylines, when it brings out its DLCs, it's like you could play like a more green kind of city, or you could do an industrial sort of city, and like there's certain DLCs like that, but it doesn't feel like it's removing. It doesn't feel like something that should have already been there, especially with City Skylines because it's an older game, and every time they do their DLCs, it's not something they've had planned from the beginning of the game production. It's at times probably bad, where they'll watch the mod workshop community, and then like take little chunks that seem like, oh, this is a good idea, we'll take that. I don't know if anyone's getting contribution for building the mod, but at times some of the DLC is like that, where it's
Well, that's something interesting when it comes to DLC is that. Back in the day when our consoles weren't connected to the internet, we didn't have that DLC. You know, like with Skyrim or something like that, where you had mods, basically. GTA 3, San Andreas, you had cheats.
Yeah.
You know, you enter in a cheat code and you get a jetpack.
But some of those things were original stuff that were designed by the game, like the game developers themselves. Wasn't it most of it?
Yeah, but nowadays it feels like that stuff is a DLC. Like, I'll bring up Assassin's Creed again, for example. The last Assassin's Creed game I played, Assassin's Creed Origins, there was a pack. I didn't purchase it. I got it through the credits that I'd earned by playing like Ubisoft games. Was a Unicamel. You know,
it's pretty cute.
The white camel. It's got a rainbow mane, and as it rides along the sand, it's got rainbow trails coming off it, and that is epic. That's awesome. You know, and like, if that game came out 10, 15 years ago, that would be a mod that someone would have put in there.
Yeah.
You know? But now we're purchasing this sort of stuff. And so that's where it comes to, it's a little bit weird when you get to this sort of stuff that, a single player game, should microtransactions like that sort of stuff kind of exist. I also want to add to the DLC, good DLC makers was Insomniac for Spider-Man PS4. They're bringing out suits like left and right. Like recently they did the Fantastic Four update. And they had the Future Foundation suit and Fantastic Bagman.
Are they all free or paid DLC? Or
free, I think the Fantastic Four suits are. Just like the Raimi suit.
So there's some free stuff that they filter out, but then there's also...
Yes, they
DLCs
do have the DLC pack.
DLC where it's actual game, like an extra gameplay.
Yeah, so you
that's paid for.
Like I consider even free DLC as DLC.
Okay.
Like free downloadable content is downloadable content.
Okay.
But yeah, like they do have that the season pass where they had the 3 episodes of The City That Never Sleeps. But even that, like you said, that felt like an extension of the game that was already built, because you play that main game and that is just an amazing sprawling map. It's just an awesome metropolis, and the side missions that you get are fun, and the gameplay itself is awesome. But with the DLC, it's just feels like not something that was taken out of the game, but something that was added on top of it. With season passes, I don't generally oppose them too much because it kind of guarantees you that they're doing content to support the game for longer. It takes a lot to develop a game in the first place, let alone adding on extra content on top of that. That's why I can understand some developers do want to subtract something out of the game to add later and make it, seem like they're adding more onto it. But you can kind of tell with certain games.
Lazy assholes. Sorry.
One of my biggest gripes, though, when it comes to DLC is fighting games.
Oh.
Dragon Ball Z Fighter Pass. The Street Fighter V Season Pass. Mortal Kombat, guaranteed will have DLC characters. And the only game that I made an exception for was Injustice, but that's because it was DC characters.
Nerd.
But also those characters felt like they were extra add-ons. So I condemned fighting games, for restricting characters and stuff like that. My Smash Brothers hated how they're restricting characters from it and making the Ultimate Fighters Pass. But when you look at some of those fighting games, though, the entire roster has like its theme, and then the DLC characters themselves are added on. If I take Injustice, for example, you get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a DLC pack. They're not DC Comics. That's a cameo.
See, that's a perfect DLC. That's a fun thing.
Exactly. That's awesome.
Crossover.
Mortal Kombat 10 had Freddy. Now he's not from Mortal Kombat. That's an awesome DLC.
Yeah.
But when you get something like Street Fighter that takes away a classic character and puts it behind a paywall, it gets very, very bad, because that's something that people recognize as from that series that you're now locking behind a paywall. Like when it comes to also like Dragon Ball Z, they don't have characters from other anime in that season, Fighters Pass. They have characters from the Dragon Ball Z universe. And that's where it's a little bit like, could you not have just like added that as free DLC, or
should have just been in there?
Yeah, or should it have just been in there from the start?